Hey guys, welcome back. It's so soon. Here we are.
I
Another
know.
week. We're on a schedule now. Look at us go.
Hey, we making progress. We making progress. You know what I'm saying?
Welcome back to Off Air, everybody. I'm Lindsay. That's Jace. And yeah, we're getting back on a schedule, getting back in routine, starting. We just decided season 2.
Yes, we did. We decided we're gonna get season 2 off and rolling here. And man, Lindsay, tell them what we got on tap today.
Oh God, we just went over it and it's already leaving my little brain. But we're gonna talk a little bit today about, how we got to where we are, what we do a little bit more in depth, and then kind of, what you have to do to stay here and the sacrifices it takes, but also the joy it brings. So, I mean, Jays, it's only been a week, but how's that full-time job treating you?
Hey, you know what? It's doing good. It's treating me well. It's making me some money. I
All that
felt like
matters.
I felt like the cowboy hat was appropriate for today with what we're gonna be talking about. That
Yeah,
and
I'm
I've
like
been
missing
watching a
our.
lot of Yellowstone.
Okay, yeah, I did hop on. I was like, our vibes are not on the same. I'm like in pajamas.
I
Jace
just
is like wearing a collar and a cowboy hat at 7:30 his time.
yeah, I just didn't want to switch out
Obviously
of
we
my
didn't
work
get
clothes
the
if I'm
get
being
the
honest.
memo from both.
I've been watching a lot of
It's okay.
Yellowstone too, so I felt like, what, cowboy hat, why not a little bit, I
Look,
haven't
he
seen
gets a
Yellowstone.
full-time job. He gets a full-time job and he has time for TV.
Yeah, like one episode a night, call it good. And then I'm in bed. Normally I'm in
Grandpa's
bed
over
by
here.
then. Oh yeah, I feel
That's
old
part of
doing
it.
this stuff. Feel old
It's part
doing
of it.
this
You want to
stuff.
kick us off? Kick us
Yeah, let's
off,
do
Jace.
it.
Tell us about what you do a little bit. And
Yeah. So, as we talked about in the last episode, if you haven't watched that episode, go watch that real quick. But I am the sports information coordinator at New Mexico Highlands. Basically, what does that mean? That means I'm in charge of media. I'm in charge of point of contact. I'm in charge of student workers. We're getting a lot of those now, which for those of you stay around, I'll explain the student worker thing for those trying to get into the industry. I'm in charge of media guides. I'm in charge of things of that nature, compiling stats, getting stats to teams, rosters. If we're on the road, we're playing on the road, I got to send the roster of our team over to the other sports information coordinator or director. There's really no difference between a director and a coordinator. They're kind of the same thing with the exception of just one word's different than the other. That's really, I feel like, the only difference. Lindsay, maybe you've had a different experience. But
I mean, I think it depends on the field, right?
right.
Like a director typically versus like a coordinator, I would say almost like does like everyone assumes they do like less work, but it's
Yeah.
more like admin-y stuff, I would say, that the director does versus the
Yeah.
coordinator.
I don't handle as much admin stuff as my counterpart, Mike Gross. He's our associate athletic director, head of communications. So he handles more of the admin stuff. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, admin's
Admin side of things, like I don't do the bureaucracy stuff, which I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm just saying, like, in general, there's a lot of bureaucracy when it comes to the admin stuff. So I don't typically like to handle that. So Mike kind of handles that whole thing. So as of how I got into the industry, I kind of accidentally got into the industry, if I'm being completely honest with you.
kind of how it
The
happens.
most on-air stuff I had done was my school news. I was an anchor my freshman year, and then I was a story, like I'd go out and I'd do I did a little skit.
A reporter.
Yeah, like a reporter. I did a little skit where I was dressed up in a mascot costume in a glass case, and people walk by, kind of like the mannequin challenge, where they stand there and they make a move.
That's actually people. My worst nightmare. My biggest fear in life is mascots. So.
That's funny because that's mine too. I can't. If I see a mascot, I go the other way.
Other way.
And the weird thing was, they were like, "Here you go. Put this head on your." You came up with the idea. Wear the head. I'm like, I don't remember agreeing to this, but okay. So I did a lot of that. That was the most on-air time I'd ever had. Fast forward, I go to my JUCO, don't do anything there. Go to my post-grad, do a little bit of videography stuff for myself there. Come here, and I wanted to run the baseball team's Instagram here at New Mexico Highlands because they had no social media presence whatsoever. So my head coach at the time's like, go meet the sports information director. This is his name. I go into his office, and I tell him what I'm looking to do. And, I knew what sports information was a little bit because I knew what a sports information director was. My uncle had mentioned the job to me. He was like, this is what you would be perfect for. Like,
Mhm.
I have a lot of useless sports knowledge that I don't need, but I have it anyways. So, I kind of knew what it was, but I didn't know what it was at the same time.
Right.
Hang out with me for a week. We got a soccer game tomorrow. Come to that. Wear a collar shirt, all that good stuff. And then we've got some volleyball games. I want you to learn some stuff there too. So I started out learning stats. I learned
Mhm.
soccer stats. I learned volleyball stats. I've learned football stats at this point, and just kind of started doing a lot. Then basketball came around. And actually, it was about midway through volleyball season, actually, when I think about it. And the guy that was doing public address at the time had gotten let go. He was the softball coach. He had gotten let go for some reasons I don't even remember. That was too long ago for me to remember why he got let go. That was also like 3 coaches ago. So like almost a half decade ago. So like,
Yeah.
and so he was like, my boss at the time was like, hey, take this mic, do public address. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And
Scariest thing someone to say, "Here's the
right.
mic. Go for
And
it."
for real. And he's like, you've been to sporting events before? I'm like, yeah, I've been to like baseball, I've been to football, I've been to basketball, but I've never been to a volleyball. Like that was the most volleyball that I had
Not
gotten.
that crazy.
So I just started saying random shit on the mic. That's literally what I did. Like,
God.
not like random, but like, if they got a point, like I'd stretch out the word cowgirls for as long as I could. And people kind of started like, hey, okay. Like we had a player, her name was Terea Stukes. Terea's great. She's awesome. Still talk to her every now and then too, to this day. It's kind of cool. And her last name was Stukes. So anytime she got a point, I'd just say Terea and then Stukes, and I'd stretch it out. Well, it got to the point I didn't even have to say her last name. The crowd started doing it. So then I did public address for basketball. Obviously, I knew basketball a little bit better. Then baseball, softball came around, and my boss knew that broadcasting was kind of something I wanted to do. So he had me do color with him on broadcasts.
And that's the thing about a small school too. It's like
Right.
your admin SID is doing the broadcast also. Like
Yeah,
that's
a lot
not
of times,
typical everywhere.
Yeah, a lot of times that's kind of what's happening. My current boss doesn't do our broadcasts. He's not. I mean, he does. He did radio in Phoenix forever, but he's like, I don't care about the broadcast. Like, I don't want to do it. That's
Right.
not my forte. So we have another guy that does come and does play-by-play, and I work with Scott a lot. Scott Gleddy's our broadcaster. I work with Scott a lot. I do I do color for him on baseball, softball. I did soccer last year. That was a whole new venture for me. If we have baseball and softball on the same day, he does baseball and I'll do softball, play-by-play. So I really just accidentally kind of fell into this. Like it wasn't anything that I was looking for. And I got the opportunity. They let go of my baseball coach my freshman year here. And I jumped in the portal. Like I was a portal kid. I was like, you know what? They let go of my coach. It doesn't matter who they bring in next. Like I'm going to explore my options. I want to stay here because of what I was getting to do in sports information. Well, about 5 days before they hired the coach who took his place at the time, I get a call from our athletic directors because we had co-athletic directors at the time. And I answered, hello? Like, Jace, how you doing? I said, I'm doing quite well. How are you guys? Typical, housekeeping, small stuff, right? They're like, look, we need to talk to you about something. Okay. And they said, we want you to come back. We know you're in the portal, but we have an offer that we're hoping we can pull you out of the portal. I'm like, y'all ain't the baseball coach. Like, why y'all, what y'all talking about? Like, they're like, we want you to come back and do the sports information work. And I was like, you want me to be the director? They're like, no, we want you to be the assistant. Like the student assistant was the official title. And I was like, okay, okay. They're like, we'll put you on scholarship. That's all I needed to hear.
All you need.
That's all I needed. So I said, all right, pull my name out of the portal. And they hired the new coach. And I was like, look, I'll do this, but I want to give baseball a shot. Like, this is why I came here. I want that shot. About 2 weeks in, I called my parents. I said, I'm done playing ball. I'm sorry. They weren't mad about it at all. They were like, hey, we knew this was coming. Talking to you all summer, you were having fun, but we knew you weren't into it anymore, and that's okay. So pulled my name and then was the student assistant. And then last April, got the phone call to become the sports information coordinator. So I was going to take what's called, what a lot of people call, which maybe it's just in my family, the Chris Fowler route. Chris Fowler, obviously the voice of college football, in my opinion, at ESPN, was a CU Boulder grad, started in sports information, got a couple radio shows here and there, then ended up at Denver's, I think it was ABC at the time, Denver's ABC covering Colorado football, which back then was god-awful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you thought last season was bad, that's great compared to what it was up until about 1990. And then, you know, you get the Salam season in 94, 98 is kind of when it started to fall off the rails. Then 2000s when it really fell off the rails. By 2003 came along when I was born. For a good 20 years of my life.
He's only 22, people. Yeah.
23.
Okay.
23.
Okay. A good 20 years of your life? Like,
it was. About a good 21 years of my life, Colorado football was awful. Winning one game here and there, maybe two games here and there.
They only had like one good season. They're still awful.
Well, they've had two. 2016, we went to the Alamo Bowl. If we can get out of the Alamo Bowl, like, configuration, that'd be awesome. So did that and then ended up
sucking.
And, you know, he kind of fell into broadcasting, very similar to the way I did. So I was trying the Chris Fowler out. Well, clearly that changed a little bit. So now I'm the sports information coordinator. I still do broadcasts here and there, but like I really learned like the nitty-gritty stuff of the sports information route. And I'm like, yeah, I could be content with the rest of my life of doing this. Like, I could do this the rest of my life and be okay with it. But, you know, we all have goals. We all have ambitions. So that's a little bit of how I fell into it. And enough about me. Lindsay. Lindsay's story is better than mine. That's for sure. I can tell you all that right now. But, Lindsay, how did you fall into everything?
I mean, it's funny because we started the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am from California. I went to school. I've damn near lived in the whole state of Arizona at this point. I was 18. I went to NAU and I was like, okay, I know no one. Like I know absolutely no one. And I had started kind of dabbling in sports photography and like in like journalism a little bit in high school. And I knew I was going to major in journalism. But I was like, okay, what's going to like get me involved? And I'm like an 18-year-old, like, God bless her. She was so naive. And I was like, I want to work in football because like, I'm going to meet my husband and like, this is going to be so great. So I like went on to the NAU athletic website and their old sports information director, I emailed him and I was like, hi, I'm an incoming freshman. I would love to work with you. I had no idea what I was doing. He calls me, hires me on the phone. And again, he had said the same thing to me. He was like, we have a scholarship for you. And I was like,
oh, wow.
Done.
That's all I need.
Okay. I got lost my first day trying to find the office. I remember so badly, like walking from my dorm to the football stadium. And then I remember going for my first game and thinking that the clear bag policy applied to me. In case you don't know, if you're working a game, you like, I knew nothing. I mean, I literally didn't know. Like, I grew up playing golf. My brother plays baseball. I know I could tell you everything about baseball. I had no idea about football. And I walk in on that first day. I'm pretty sure they were playing Sam Houston. And God bless the other intern. Her name was Cass. She taught me everything. All I did that first year of football was attendance. And it was like, if they come on the field, highlight. If they come on the field, highlight. And it was like just something new. Participation.
Yep.
Attendance, participation.
Same
and thing. That's how I learned offense and defense, special teams. I didn't understand why there were two jerseys of the same number. I was like, my mind's blown.
Yeah.
And that's where I started. And then I started doing basketball, a little bit of volleyball, but I was only doing stats. So I was just calling. I would do Instagram stories sometimes. But very like basic. And because it was my first time, it was a lot of shadowing that first year.
Mm-hmm.
But then COVID hit my freshman year of college. So
Oh, yeah.
we all went home and there was nothing. But then all of a sudden, football's back, basketball's back. It's all going on damn near at the same time.
Right.
So that's where I kind of just started like really leaning into the SID world, and I loved it.
Right.
But then came my junior year and I got involved in the sports journalism class at NAU. And that's where I was like, oh, this shit's my jam. I was like going to high school games. I was becoming like, we had a sports only talk show. It was 15 minutes every Thursday. We taped it on Thursdays, so we go out on Fridays. And it was called The Overtime. And I just loved it. I loved being on camera. I loved going out. I loved meeting people. I was still an intern with the athletics department. So I was still working all these games. So I just knew so many people. And I knew like was in the press conferences. And then I started filming stuff for like the sports information office. Like I would do interviews with players weekly for the football team, and we would record them, edit them, and post them on Twitter. And like I just started getting really involved in that. And then going into my junior year, I had like an internship where I kind of did SID stuff with the baseball team, a summer league baseball team. But then I went back my senior year, and I remember my professor calling me. It had to have been like the first week of school. And he was like, hey, they're looking for a new sideline reporter on ESPN. I'm going to put your name in. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. You're talking about the mothership. You best believe. Keep talking. I got to go turn on a light so I can see.
I was like, oh my God, this is like everything I've ever wanted in my entire life. He puts it in. I remember exactly where I was when I got the call or the email that I got it. And I remember calling my really good friend at the time who also was doing it. And we were just crying. We were like, oh my God, we're going to be on ESPN. And plus, but ESPN.
Still ESPN.
It's all owned by the same.
Yeah.
And I can remember my very first game. I'm pretty sure I blacked out. And I never looked back. I did I think there was 5 home games that season. I did 3 of them because I was just like, let me at them. There was 3 of us that did it. And I was so enthralled in it. I was still interning for the SID department. And at that point, I kind of decided, okay, I love this. This is what I want to do. I was 21 when I graduated college. I was not ready to go get a job. I knew I didn't want to be in a studio. So I knew I didn't want to do local news. I only wanted to do sports, which is obviously so incredibly unrealistic. But I was like, I need to go somewhere that's going to get me noticed. So I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I had a professor that was like, well, here's the top 2 programs in the country. It's either you go to Syracuse and you go to the Newhouse School, or you go to ASU and you go to the Cronkite School. So I applied there, and then I applied as an SID graduate assistant at University of Oregon. So it was like, either I'm going to go for sports journalism at these 2 schools. If I don't get in, I'm going to go to University of Oregon, because my sister was going to OSU at the time. And I was like, it's perfect. It was like for gymnastics and swim and something else. And that winter was like huge just for me, because the Super Bowl was in Phoenix. So I went down and covered the Super Bowl. And I remember I'd gotten into Oregon right before the Super Bowl. So I was like on a high. Went to the Super Bowl, got back and I went to the Super. I did a game on a Monday. The next day went to the Super Bowl, came back, did a game that next night, a basketball game. And then that next day I found out I got into Syracuse. And it's like 1 of 16. That's how big the graduate class is. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
I was like, I'm going to Syracuse. I was like, I'm going to Syracuse. Me, who hates being away from my family and like would want my mom in my pocket. I was like, I'm going to move across the country.
Yeah,
I'm doing it.
Move to New York. Yeah.
Yeah. Dumb. And then I remember getting an email one day from an admissions assistant for financial services from ASU. And it was like, hey, we'd love to talk to you about, with your admissions to the Cronkite School. And I was like, my admissions to the Cronkite school. I was like, what? 2 days later, I got my admissions to Cronkite. And I was like, oh, and this is, I mean, a moment where I think everyone kind of has one, but I was like, oh, I'm good. Like, okay, there's
Yeah.
potential there. Like, if
Yeah.
the number one journalism school in the country sees potential in me, like, okay, they'll take me. So I ended up going, obviously, to ASU. That summer between, I worked for a baseball team in my hometown. I started doing social media there, and I was like, okay, I kind of like it, but I was also like in game hosting and really just having the time of my life. And so I was like, okay, got to school. And again, I was like, I don't have a job. What am I going to do? I need something to fill my time. And the volleyball team at Arizona State was kind of in a rebrand. They had brought on a brand new head coach, damn near a whole new team. And he wanted social media, someone specifically for him, because obviously the SAD department covers the teams, but he wanted someone whose whole responsibility was his team. I had one call, the rest was history. I was with that team through their first NCAA run in like 15 years. And then I fell in love with the social media world. And I met my best friend. She was on that team. And I was like, God, if I could do this for the rest of my life, I was like, I'm set. And so the way ASU school for your master's works is I should have graduated in August. I pushed it until December so I could work a whole nother season with the volleyball team.
Yeah, absolutely.
I stayed, covered them through their first year in the Big 12, a Big 12 championship, another NCAA run. I got a Big 12 championship ring. I have obviously my framed jersey. And I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I got very, very lucky. And I graduated December 17th. I had my first round interview with FC Tucson December 23rd. My second round, December 27th. And I got hired that day.
Oh, wow.
So I graduated and had a job within 10 days. And I started the Tuesday after MLK Day. So I started like a month later. I've worked random little I do social media for the PGA, the Southwest Division. So I've covered events like the Waste Management Open. I've covered the Arizona Open. I've worked for marketing companies, and done like the Jerry Colangelo Golf Tournament, the Hall of Fame basketball games that are held in Phoenix, Section 7, which is a huge high school basketball tournament. And it was kind of like all those little pieces together were like, okay, this is what we want to do. And so I became the digital media and social content manager of FC Tucson in 2024, technically 2025, really. And I've now been here for 2 years. I just wrapped up my last season on Friday. And I think we mentioned this last week a little bit, but I was actually laid off about 5.5 weeks ago. USL2 is incredibly hard to maintain a full year-round staff. There's it's a 3-month like bang, 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 bang. Like you are just like punched to the ground. And then it's a 9 months of like rainbows and daisies and like, wow, this is like, I was home today like 1:00. That's also because I've like half checked out. So like, don't be like me. But so now I'm in the process of interviewing for jobs to try and stay in social media. It's not the staying in social media that's the hard part. It's the staying in sports. So I mean, we kind of talked about, how we got here, and now I'll, transition to like how we stay here, like how I'm managing to stay in sports right now. Obviously the podcast is a great way for me to like stay. And Jason and I, like people that don't know, like Jason and I have never met in person. Like this friendship is something that has been built through like years of like online, everything your parents tell you not to do with a stranger is like Jason and I's friendship. And like my mom now is at the point where mom's like, oh, how's Jace? And I'm like, oh, he's good. like
that's awesome.
Because it's like, oh, this guy like Lindsay does a podcast with, like everyone's like, okay. So this is a huge help. And then obviously I still work with the Southwest PGA. So I'll be up in Phoenix in 2 weeks, actually working the Arizona Open with them. So I'll be doing social media for them. I've thrown around the idea of still freelancing for FC Tucson, but we'll see how things like shake out. You kind of just want a clean break also. And then I've been very, very lucky with the coaching staff here at FC Tucson. The head coach, Sebastian Pineda, and his wife, Natalie, have like taken me in as like one of their, they have 2 boys, 5 and 1. And so they've taken me in as like their adopted child. And he runs a private lesson clinic business in the off season for soccer. So I've become kind of the marketing manager, you could say, for that. It's like unpaid, but it's like just a great way to like still be working and still be getting experience and still be doing things. And it's hard.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, I didn't think I'd be living in Tucson at 25 and not know where my next job was going to be. Right. I was telling Jace earlier the other day that I just turned down a job, which sounds stupid to say when I was just saying that I like need a job, in El Paso. And what's hard, I think Jace, you could probably attest to this, is like the gig, fantastic, right? The professional level of soccer below the MLS, fantastic. Hardest thing about staying in sports, the pay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Non-existent, people.
Yeah. It's funny because like I've been super lucky to be able to stay here, right? Like I kind of knew what I was getting myself into when I was here. But like, we talked about it. Actually, funny you bring up Syracuse. Like I starting in like January of last year, I was just applying for jobs. I didn't give a damn where they were. They could have been in Cuba, and I'd have been like, "Yep, I'm applying."
I used to have that mindset.
Yeah, like that's just me being like, all right, take this, use it as a stepping stone, wherever it is. It doesn't matter if it was here. It doesn't matter if it was in New York. It doesn't matter if it was in Florida. And they had like it was like a 6-month internship with Syracuse Communications. And I was like, man, this is Syracuse. So when I say the mothership, I'm stealing a Dan Patrick line. If you guys watch Dan Patrick, like he refers to ESPN as the mothership. And I don't think it's anything against ESPN, but then again, what do I know, right? Rich Eisen's back at ESPN now, which that's wild. But I'm like, this is the mothership breeding ground. Like if you go to Syracuse, 9 times out of 10, you're going to end up at ESPN. I feel like 9 times out of 10. If you get out of Syracuse, it's a feeding ground. It's like a feeder school into ESPN.
It's because it's also, for people that don't know, it's in Syracuse, is obviously in Syracuse, New York, and then ESPN's headquarters are Bristol. It's like it's like right there. Like they say, if you go to Syracuse and you go to Newhouse, you're ESPN. If you go to ASU and Cronkite, it's like the major sports teams.
Right.
Like there's one way it's one school puts you out one way and the other school puts you out the other way.
It's just like USC in film. Like if you go to USC, you're going to have film people calling you left and right.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, all right. It's cute. Yeah, it'd be cool if I even hear back from him. My boss calls me, my current boss calls me, he goes, hey, come into the office. And it's like one of those days, like I was a student worker, so we were only allowed to work so many hours. I walk in, I said, what's up? And he goes, sit down, shut the door. And I'm like, I'm thinking, what did I say on the broadcast that I wasn't supposed to, like, everything I had ever done wrong in my life
just going through his mind in that moment.
Right? And I'm like, all right, bro. All right. We're screwed. He goes, I just got off the phone with some people. I said,
that doesn't help your anxiety one bit.
I said, that didn't help. He goes, they were from Syracuse. Syracuse? Yeah, I applied for a job with Syracuse. He goes, they want you. I'm like, huh? I said, do what? And he's like, yeah, that, like, expect an email in a couple days. Never heard from him. Oh, well. Maybe they found a client or a client.
Did you check your spam?
I did check my spam multiple times a day. Okay, multiple times an hour. All right. It was like for like 72 hours, I just checked my email and my spam. Not that I don't already do that, but like,
Right, but there's a difference. I think people will learn like when they're applying for jobs, like there's a difference of like checking your email and then like
checking your email, right?
Like I'm on the checking my email
Yeah.
phase right now.
So I'm like, okay, maybe they found somebody that I liked better. And if that's the case, good for them. I'm not one of those
Right,
that
yeah,
it's like,
hating.
yeah, good for like somebody just got a job at Air Force. I applied for that same job at Air Force. And I was like, hey, you know what? She got it. And I started looking through her resume and I'm like, that's why she got it. that is why. Like you look up these people that get these jobs over you on LinkedIn and you're like, damn.
I think too what's so interesting and like I mean, we both get it because we both moved away from home.
Right.
Is I think the craziest thing people hear, like this is something I've learned more about. Like I used to say, I will go anywhere for the job. Like when I wanted to be in broadcasting, I was like, I will go anywhere for the job that gets me put on TV and that gets me on ESPN one day.
Yep.
I will go anywhere for it. And I think something I've learned about myself now is like, your girl's not going anywhere for it. Like I am incredibly close with my family. I get homesick still, and I'm 25. But I also get homesick for I get homesick for Phoenix. Like I'm going back tomorrow and I'm like, I'm going home. I'm like going home. I'm like packing my bags. I'm like, I'm so excited. And that's what I literally realized a couple weeks ago was like, my home is wherever my family is. My home right now is Phoenix. Like I have a community there. And I think what's hard if people want to stay in sports, the only mindset is that you have to go where the job is.
Right.
And it's like, yes, like this first job, do I want to be living in Tucson? Not particularly. No. Like people that don't know, there's not, I mean, we just had like a mass shooting here 2 days ago. Like it's not a place that I want to be raising my family one day. But for a first job,
yeah,
it's to be expected.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, do you think you're going to be staying at Highlands forever?
Probably not, no.
But it's a first job with stability and a community and friends and like talk about reasons like I had a like it's just it's not worth it always though to feel like I have to go where the job is.
Right. Yeah, I mean we'll come back to kind of like our tips for that and everything like that in a second. But now we'll kind of transition to like navigating the sports world now. And like navigating it, it's one of the toughest things in the world. Like we've kind of already broke ground on that a little bit. It's like, all right. Do I want to live in, if you have the options, right? I'm not going to use Las Vegas. I actually enjoy it here. Do I think I'm going to stay here the rest of my life? No. But I mean, like there was a job that opened up the other day that I was like, oh man, if I wasn't locked in on this lease I have right now, oh man, especially if it's my dream job, which it is. It's at the dream place that I want to be, which we all know what that is. Well, one of two places that I want to be.
I know exactly the job you're talking about.
Oh yeah, you know exactly what job I'm talking about because I was like, hey. I told my boss, I said, you're lucky I'm locked in on a 1-year lease because you see this? And I showed him the screen. I said, you see the information that's filled out here? Give me 2 reasons I shouldn't apply. And he was like, I'm not giving you any reasons. So I hit apply. Am I going to get it? Probably not. Am I okay with that? Absolutely. But it's tough to navigate it because whether you're in the job or you're not in the job, you're going to see things that are going to catch your eye and you're going to apply. And if you get it, you're like, okay, now I got to navigate, my living situation. Now I got to navigate this. Now I got to navigate that. And like one thing that I learned, and I learned this really, really well, like I was very, very happy to go to the College Sports Communicators Convention in Las Vegas this past year. I learned so much about staying in sports and the longevity of being in it. And it's like the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Nope. The grass is going to be green where you water it. And I was like, yo, I heard that quote and I said,
you never heard that before?
I never heard that quote. I said, said, hold
That's
up.
one of the most well-known quotes. That's so good.
I was like,
They got you.
oh, they spitting bars out up in here. Okay.
No, they're not spitting bars.
I never
Jace.
heard it. And then people were like, yeah, that's normal. And I'm like, normal, bro? What the fuck? What do you mean?
A cliche. That's what we call a cliche.
Yeah, I'd never heard that. But I was like, okay, that's valid. But then like the other thing was like, you know, when you're navigating this world, there was a lot of people there too that were like, you know, you're making connections at that thing, and that's the cool thing about it. Is like you got to make the connections. Like to navigate this sports world, have connections. You know, I know there's a sports information director at a school up in Chadron, Nebraska, Chadron State. I've gotten to know him really well through a few things, and he's like, if I had the money to hire an assistant, you'd be at the top of my list. You know, and I'm like, hey, talk to me. You know, just let me know. I mean, you know, it's same conference, same everything that I've been dealing with. So it's like, okay, you know, but like, you know, I had the offer from NAU and it was like, whew, you know, that's a D1 job. But what they were going to be having me do wasn't exactly what I was looking for. And that's where it gets tough is because it's like, okay, I know what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't meet it. But if that doesn't meet it, should I not apply? No, apply. You know, you can't put your eggs all in one basket. Right? You got to, you know, find somewhere you want to be, apply for those jobs. If you're just starting out in the industry, apply for those jobs. You never know what's going to happen. You never know. But if you're kind of in Lindsay's position, right, where she's been around doing it for a good time, right? She's done the hard jobs. And now she's kind of at a point where it's like, all right, I'm going to find where I want to be.
Yeah.
And I'm going to apply for jobs that are in that specific area and that specific area only. You'll get to that point.
I think the hard part is knowing when you're at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like I still had the mindset of what Jay said, right? Like apply all over, go anywhere, move anywhere for a job. And I had a conversation with my parents and they were just like, why?
Yeah.
Like like everyone always says like you need to do your big move. Like you need to do the big move. Like everyone has to have it and you have to live somewhere you don't want to live and like you have to do the hard things, right? I've done that. Mm-hmm. I moved to Arizona and yes, by choice.
Right.
When I was 18 years old and I stuck it out and I loved Flagstaff eventually, but I did not love Flagstaff at first, but I stayed because it's what was best for me. And then I left Flagstaff, very sad, to make the other big move to Phoenix. I loved Phoenix. I fell in love with Phoenix. I made the big move to Tucson, right? Like I've done the moves. I've lived in the shitty places. I've had the roommates. I'm 25, but like I've been out of college. Oh my God. A long time. Okay. 3 years. So, but like I'm turning 25 next month. So like,
right.
My frontal lobe's almost developed. So I really feel that I'm now at a place where like I can be picky. I can be, which I think is something not to be taken for granted, that I've put myself in a position now to be picky, but it's not going to start off that way. And I think that's what people misconstrue about sports is like, you have to work the shitty jobs, the unpaid internships, the grueling hours, the awful coworkers, the nitpicky bosses, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of it. And like, it sucks, but like, you have, I think that's how you know if you're meant to be doing it or not is if you stick it out.
Yeah. And you know, I kind of mentioned this like before we came on the air was like every summer I go back home to Grand Junction for at least a week. I mean, obviously my new job, my boss is like, no, you're still going to go do that. And I'm like, do you think I'm complaining? No. I go home and I work the Division I Junior College World Series. And I've been doing that. This is my There's a newspaper article right here that says how long I've been doing it. 3 years now. Literally, there's like a news article like right there on my wall. Anyways, I got put in the newspaper. It was pretty cool. Anyways, and it was like, I don't get paid for that. It's all volunteer. And why people are like, people always ask me, why are you like if I'm not statting the game, that's what I primarily do there. I stay for the game and I watch the game, or, if I can help out in any way, I'll help out in any way. And, I've gotten to meet guys and ladies like with ESPN, and I've gotten to meet guys with the local newspaper, and I've gotten to meet guys that broadcast for that specific team. Like there's a Texas Sports Broadcasting Network. They cover a lot of JUCOs, and they're like, hey, stay in touch.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's how you have to do it, though. That's how
we've heard your voice. Don't think we haven't. And it's like, okay. And, I sent them some reels and stuff. And then, I got the chance to cover the Division II World Super Regional for the World Series and the NCAA. And so that was like a lot of experience for me as well, because we haven't done that yet here at Highlands. We're, hopefully trending in the right direction in that sense. But now I have that experience where some of my coworkers maybe don't. I know how to handle it. I've seen people handle it. Now I know how to handle it if we do get in that situation. So it's like, okay, like we know exactly where we're trying to go. And people are like, man, why do you stay for the games? It's like, it's not for the game. It's for those people in the press box.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. The head SID at Colorado Mesa, Dave Yonke, he's there. Right? I work with him throughout the year. The head operations, I believe, game ops guy for Georgia Tech, he's there managing the press box.
You're the first person on their mind when they have an opening come up.
Yep. And
like, there's nothing more flattering.
Absolutely. And like, in terms of navigating it, like the biggest tip I can give, and it's, how do I put this nicely? It's shitty that the world is this way, and it's not just sports. It's
everything.
I mean, my 19-year-old brother now, he's trying to find a job, and I'm starting to call my buddies that have jobs at places and be like, hey, you guys open? Like, you guys open for hiring? Like, I'm trying to use my connections to help him get connections, right? And it's who you know, not what you know. You can have a 7-page resume a lot. I've seen it. I've seen, like, we just got, like, and I'll talk about this a little bit more. We just got a person that sent me an email about a post I made on social media about that we're hiring for our sports information department. His resume is 4 pages. And it's like,
that's too long, people.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't need 4 pages of your resume. Make it 1 page, send me your work, and I'll go over it. I have 2 separate resumes. I have a broadcasting resume and I have a sports information resume. Okay, this job's for broadcasting. Here's the broadcasting resume. Here's my broadcasting
like the cover letter template. Yep. I mean, I think though, just to touch on something you said is like, I think that's the hardest part is working in sports is very much a connection-based industry.
Yep. It's all networking.
I think for me, at least, that was the hardest thing to wrap my mind around because I was raised, it's what I know, not who I know. Like, as long as I set myself up for the most success. And that's why I've worked my ass, right? Like you worked my ass off to get to where I am. And I like to think, like, I applaud myself because I'm like, out of 26 kids in my graduating class with my master's, I was the first person to get a job. Right. I had a job before people even finished cleaning up their Christmas presents. Like, patting myself in the back for that, right? Like, I had a plan right after I left undergrad. Because that's the way I think, that's the way I process. But it's something I'm learning now is I got very lucky getting my job at FC Tucson.
Yep.
But I was the most qualified person for that role.
Yep.
But, and I think what's funny is now I'm in this position where my boss is making calls for me. Mm-hmm. And I had a moment with my mom last week and I was like, if I turn down this job, do you think he's going to be mad? And she was like, he didn't get you the job, Lindsay. She was like, he made the call. He got them to look at your resume. if you weren't qualified, they wouldn't have interviewed you. He's like, maybe,
Absolutely.
she's like, maybe they would have out of respect for him. She's
Right.
like, but you got the second interview and the
Yep.
third and the fourth and the cash offer.
Right.
And so I think that's something that like there has to be a mix of like what you know and who you know and who you know and what you know, because to a certain extent it's who you know.
Right.
But you have to be able to take it all the way to the finish line of I'm the best person for the job and believe that you are.
Right.
You know, like, and that starts with a one-page resume, knowing what your best work is, right? Like,
Absolutely.
my dad works in HR and I was like, can I take these internships like off my resume yet? And he was like, you can take this off and this off and this off and that's it. He
Yep.
was like, you know, like if it's passes, you know, the SID stuff, he was like, you put that as for additional work, please, you know, let me know,
Yeah.
email me, whatever. But we don't need like I don't need to know everything you know right off the bat.
Right.
Show me.
Yeah. I think a lot of it, like when you talk about connections, okay, everybody knows you see the flag over my shoulder. Okay. I was taught I'd rather be dead than red, right? The school in Lincoln. I won't refer to it by its name.
I didn't
just
know
won't do it.
what you meant. I honestly didn't know what.
So
I
the
was
school in
like, I'm getting
Lincoln.
political.
No. The school in red. The school in Lincoln. Okay, University of
Nebraska for everyone.
Okay. Yep.
University of Nebraska.
Like Colorado fans, you don't wear red, you don't own red. I don't own a single thing. We could go around my room, this office right now. You're not going to see a single thing that's red except for that C on that state flag. That's it. And I was walking around the convention and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go sit by these two guys. These two guys are having a conversation. They're SIDs. I want to have a conversation. One guy was from Notre Dame. I respect Notre Dame. I like Notre Dame. I'm okay with Notre Dame.
Like Marcus
Freeman. I go, hey, is it all right if I sit down and chat with you boys? They said, absolutely. I sat down. Now, remember, this guy's wearing a black polo. I haven't seen the logo on this guy's chest yet.
It's a big red N.
And I turn and I go, and in my head, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. All right. So I told him straight up. I was like, look, I grew up a CU fan, but I still want to chat. And he goes, man, I went to Michigan State. For 5 years, I hated Nebraska. He goes, let me tell you something, though, kid, because you're young. Now, this guy might have been a few years older than I was, let's be honest. Like maybe 4 or 5 years older and calling me a kid. And I'm like, okay. But, and he's like, it doesn't matter where you go. You fall in love with the school that you're at.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you leave, you fall in love with that school and so on and so forth. And yeah, to your point, yes, it is a mix of what you know and who you know. Like you wouldn't have got the interview if it wasn't for what you know. Right? You wouldn't have gotten
or who you know, but then
right.
it's
But then it's like, okay, now we interview you. All right. XYZ, you know, hey, I did this, I've done this, I've done that. They're like, okay. Then they go look at your references.
Mm-hmm.
And they call that reference, who then they tell them to call this reference, who then tell them to call that reference. Then the networking comes into play, right? And, you know, they might look at your reference and go, okay. What are the schools in your conference has this kid worked with? And I'll admit, there's some SIDs out there that I've picked a bone with here or there. You know, obviously we have a good relationship now. But if they would have called that school, I don't think I would have gotten a very good reference. I'm not gonna lie about it. I've picked a bone with them before. But then again, who do you not pick a bone with every now and then? You always pick a bone with somebody every now and then, right? It just happens. But, you know, as you said, it's a mixture combination of who you know, what you know, and what you know, who you know. So very much
I think
in that sense.
It's so interesting because it's like you need to be I think to work in sports, like I would say my number one tip is like you have to be a people person. Like 90% of the job working in sports, 95% of the job is people.
Mhm.
Like you'd be like, oh, but I'm in the press box. Yeah, I'm dealing with my announcer, my broadcasters, my reporters, my interns on the field. Like, I don't need to be a people pleaser.
Nope.
I don't need to love people.
Nope.
But you got to be a people person. You got to be able to, like, I don't know one single like sole introvert that works in sports, right? Because it's exhausting. Like, I was in the office today from 8:30 to 1:30. Okay, 1 o'clock. I had multiple conversations with every single person in my office. I did an interview on the phone. I emailed reporters. And then I come home and I sit on my bed and I don't speak to anyone
Right.
for 2 hours and I recharge. And my roommate's a kindergarten teacher, so the girl loves to yap. And we like to yap together. And so then she comes home and then we talk. But I'm like, I don't talk to anyone from the time I leave to the time she comes home. And I don't do that on purpose. Like Jason and I could have filmed this. Well, he has a big boy job now. But we could have filmed this probably at 3 o'clock, right? And I would have been like, fine. But it's like, I have that time marked out in my calendar of I don't talk to anyone.
Yep.
And it's like, on this interview I had today, she was like, which was really refreshing. She said, I don't work 7 days a week, so I don't expect people that work for me to either.
Yeah.
I've never once heard that statement. And I literally stopped her and I said, I have to let you know it's one of the most refreshing things I've ever heard.
Yep.
Because as someone that's been working in sports now for almost 7 years, especially at this job in FC Tucson where I'm at now, like I'm on call 24/7. Like,
so am I.
If the owner needs something, if one of the guys in the sales team needs something, if a player texts me and is like, hey, I respond. That's part of it, right? And I think the thing to understand when people say, like, I don't expect you to work 7 days a week, I want you to, like, I believe in a work-life balance, is it's not ignoring your responsibilities, but it's putting yourself and your well-being first. Like, I think in sports, it's like, oh, we have to do this. And it's like, the athletes get time off.
Yep. Why don't we? Yep.
Like, why don't we? Like, my head coach here, he's so strict about their off days. So strict. Like, no, Lindsay, you can't do any content. No, Lindsay, no. And I'm like, dude, you're killing me. And I looked at him one day. I was at his house for dinner. And I said, you're killing me. I was like, I only have so many days in a week. I was like, you're killing me. And he said something like, I'm also giving you an off day.
Oh.
And I was like,
interesting.
I don't
know
what that is, right? Like,
yeah.
I the way I've done it has been kind of unconventional, but like I've gone from school to job. Mm-hmm. I've never had more than 2 weeks off. Ever. Like the most time I had off was when I graduated from my master's and started this job. And I think like even when I graduated from my bachelor's, I went home and worked a summer media job with a team. So like I was there the whole summer. I literally worked the day I drove out here to Arizona. Like I've never had longer than 2 weeks off. And my mom comes into town tomorrow with my brother for a baseball tournament. And my mom was like, you're not working. And she's like, if I didn't think it would stress you out into oblivion, I'd tell you to leave your laptop at home. And I was like, oh, I can't do that.
Yeah, no, I don't. I take my laptop everywhere.
I was like, my laptop lives with me. I take her to the grocery store. Like if I go get groceries, my laptop goes. Because you never know.
Right.
And like my birthday's coming up. My sister's getting married in October, did all these things. And my mom's like, are you going to be able? And I never thought I would be one of those people. And she was like, are you going to be able to like the ceremony's 40 minutes long. Are you going to be able to like not check work? And I was like, well, she's getting married on a Friday and that's a work day. And I was like, so there might be things going on that like, I can't.
Yeah.
God, she was about to kill me. She was like, that's ridiculous. Yeah. But like, that's because it's so important to have that balance. And I think that would be like my number one tip because people like the burnout is real. Like I'm in it right now. Like I will wholeheartedly admit like, whether it's the laying off or the season coming to an end or what, but I'm burnt. I'm the end of the candle that's like hanging on by a thread. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean I've lost my love for it.
Absolutely right. No,
I would say like you have to find the balance.
It was funny. I went home in March for our baseball team was playing Mesa back in my hometown. Mm-hmm. So I was like, it's spring break for us. And I was like, I can make this work trip / spring break trip. So my roommate and his girlfriend and I went down to Grand Junction. My cousin at the time was pregnant with her son and my nephew. And, she was pregnant. I didn't know nothing. She gives birth, whoop-de-woo. I've seen this kid twice, right? Up until I go to Greeley and I work this event. And I'm editing all the time. We do these interviews. I'm editing. Well, I work this event and I drive back home because I'm flying out to Havasu the next day for a actual. My laptop went with me, but I didn't open it the whole time I was there.
Oh, that gives me so much anxiety.
How I did that, I have no idea, because I was sitting there like, gotta do this, gotta do that, get there, get do this. No, didn't open it. I don't know how, but I do know how. There's a lot of alcohol involved, but it's fine. I was in Havasu, and I get home and I call my folks. I'm like, hey, I'm back in town. They're like, come over to your uncle's. I'm like, okay, my uncle lives across the street from me back home. So I grabbed my bag. My brother had walked over, what up? And I said, I got to go edit. He's like, aren't you done working? I said, no, I got to go edit this video. 2 videos I had to edit. Two videos I had to edit still before I could quit and be done with that job, that gig. And I'm sitting there editing, and my cousin brings her son over to me and puts him in my arms, and I'm like, okay, take the kid now. Like, I held him for maybe 30 seconds before I was like, all right, so I'm gonna take the kid. Because one and two things is about to happen. He's about to start crying, or I'm gonna be late on my deadline for this video. Somebody take this kid. And then afterwards, okay, I was able to kind of settle in and chill and relax. But like, it's crazy how much like parts of your life, you're like, oh, man, I'd love to hold this kid, but he's probably going to start crying. Second off, I got to edit this video.
It's hard. Like that balance.
Can y'all do something here?
Yeah, that balance is, I mean, I just said it to my roommate before we hopped on. I haven't been home since March.
Right.
And that's a long time for me. Like, I won't be home. I had plans to go home the first week of August, but this job I just interviewed for, the start date is August 7th.
Okay, yeah.
So I could hypothetically, right, like I could go home next week, right? But I had, signed up to work for a golf tournament. And that's 3 days at $600. And I'm like, oh, well, I need to work the golf tournament. Now, if I get this job, do I need to work the golf tournament? No. Do I need to go home? Kind of.
Yeah.
Right? You need that like mental reset. And so it's hard. It's a hard like mental switch. And I don't say this to deter anyone from it, because I truly think we have the greatest jobs in the world.
We do.
But it takes a special person to work in sports.
Absolutely.
And
you're going to deal with different personalities all the time. Like, you really are. And you got to know how to navigate those and how to manage those. And that's really tough. I guess if you don't take anything away from this at all, but you take away this from what I'm going to say is, contact your SID at the school you're at if you truly want to work in sports. We just posted 2-3 posts of, hey, we're hiring, and I'm holding an interest meeting for people, and I've received, I think I tallied it up, 25 messages, either email or text, or, well, I don't have my number out there, but people who know me have seen it. And
I'm like, your number on the internet?
No, or my Instagram, right? Like, people that are athletes that know me, or people that are students that know me, they're like, hey, what can we do? And or I've received emails, and I think I tallied it up to 25 total messages that are like, hey, I'm interested. And it's like, all right, be at that interest meeting. So contact your SIDs if they don't post something like that. If they post something like that, reply to it on an email. Don't direct message them. Don't Twitter X them. Don't call their cell. Email them, because 97% of us check our email every day, if not more than once a day. So we're gonna see it. Even if we have a ton of emails, we're gonna see it at some point. And find those contacts that you can to get into this, because once you're in it,
you're in.
Then you got to decide, all right, am I built for this? Am I not built for this? If you're built for it, great. Congratulations, you're going to work a great job. If you're not built for it, good for you. Go get your degree and do whatever else you want to do, and then go do that. And 10 years later, when you're looking back going, damn, I should have stayed. Yeah, that's your fault. Because once you get out of it, it's hard to get back into it. And that's...
If you're not established, yes.
Yeah. And if you're emailing your SID and you want to broadcast, tell them that. Be straight up about what you want. I want to broadcast. Okay, let's see what we can do to work you in there. I want to work social media. Okay, let's see what we can do to work you in there. Because some people are going to have those already. They might have a play-by-play guy or lady. They might have a social media manager already. But they'll let you learn.
But they're always looking for the next, like they're always looking for people to learn, because then the person's sick and they can't fill in, or, like the fluke thing happens and they need someone to fill in. Like, I feel like we both got where we are because of a fluke, right? Like, because one day he said something, and I'm a very big believer in it's all meant to be. But I would just say, as two people with a lot of experience and also no experience, you just kind of have to take that jump. And I always say I have the best job in the world. Like, I work games for a living. Like, working in sports pays my bills. And like, where else would you rather do except that? Yeah.
I mean, and hopefully once we kind of get a regular schedule, obviously we're going to try and plan for at least one episode a week. Obviously things happen, but we'll figure it out. But I want to start bringing people on that have been in this a little bit longer than we have a lot of connections in that department of, like my boss has been itching to get on here. Like today I told him I got to shoot my podcast. He goes, when do I get to get on? And I'm like,
hey, well, tell me so I'm not dressed in my pajamas.
Yeah, I'll let you know. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, you're right. We did say we wanted you on this, fool. He's like, yeah, you did. And I was like, yeah, let me let you know. But like, so that they can talk about it too.
People with more experience than us. I think we're relatable because we're young, but people with more experience and know a different insight.
Yeah. So just do whatever you can. And once you get that, do things that are going to benefit you, even if they're odd, until you get to the point where you're like, all right, I know what I want to do. I know where I want to be. I know where I want to settle. But until then, get as much experience as you can, but not all experience has to go on your resume, right? There are things that I've done that are not on my resume because it doesn't pertain to this. So that's about all I got, Lindsay. Close us out. Take us home. Send it out of here.
Take our sage advice. Don't take our sage advice. We're really just, like I said, here to yap for an hour for you. So this is Off Air. We'll see you guys next week.